All right, let's dive in. We're about to meet a bird that is honestly one of the most stunning creatures on the entire planet. And believe me, its story is just as colorful as its feathers. And it's packed with surprises. So you see a bird that looks like this. And I mean, wow. The first thing you're probably going to ask is, where in the world does something like that come from? And well, the answer? It's a little more complicated than you might expect. We are, of course, talking about the golden pheasant. But you might also hear it called the Chinese pheasant. That's a big clue right there. Or even the rainbow pheasant, which, let's be honest, is a pretty perfect nickname.
Even scientists couldn't help but be poetic with this one. Its scientific name, Chrysolophus pictus, literally comes from ancient Greek and Latin for painted with a golden crest. I mean, how cool is that? It's not just a name, it's a description. It's like they were just describing a painting.
Okay, so let's take a closer look at this living artwork, because when you see the male golden pheasant, wow, it's a true masterpiece of nature. And the difference between him and the female, it's absolutely night and day. The male is just this kaleidoscope of color. You've got the golden crest, a super bright red body, this amazing orange cape, a green back, even blue on the wings. And get this, they're about 100 centimeters long. And that incredible tail, that's 2/3 of its entire body length. Just imagine. But here's where it gets really fascinating. You see the male, all flashy and designed to grab your attention. And then there's the female. She's the total opposite. Her plumage is this dull, mottled brown. But it's not boring. It's brilliant camouflage. It's designed to keep her perfectly hidden and safe, especially when she's nesting on the ground. Okay, so we've got the look down. But the story of where this bird lives today, that's where things get really wild. Let's just say it's been on a bit of a world tour. So to start from the beginning, the golden pheasant story starts in one place. Its native home is in the mountain forests of western China. That's it. That's where it's originally from. But, and this is a big but, it didn't stay there. This bird is now, believe it or not, a global citizen. People have introduced it to different places, and now there are feral populations. Basically, they've gone wild again. In all these other countries, thousands of miles from China. And this isn't something that just happened. Nope, this has been going on for a long, long time. We're talking records of them living free in England way back in 1845. By the 1980s, the population in Britain was huge, up to 2,000 birds, and it didn't stop there. By 1996, they'd even set up shop on the island of Maui in Hawaii. How wild is that? So we know where they are now, all over the place. But how do they actually live? I mean, how does a bird that looks like a walking rainbow survive out there in the wild? Well, their whole life is really centered on the ground. They spend their days foraging around, scratching for stuff like grain, leaves, and bugs. And here's a funny thing. For a bird, they're not great flyers. They're actually pretty clumsy in the air. So if something spooks them, their first move is to run, not fly. Then at night, they'll flutter up into the trees to roost where it's safe. And when it comes to breeding, well, that's a big part of their success story. The female will lay a clutch of 8 to 12 eggs. Think about that. That's a lot of potential new pheasants, which really helps explain how they've been able to set up these new populations around the world. All right, for our last section, let's talk about the pheasant's relationship with us, with people. Because its incredible beauty, well, it's been a bit of a double-edged sword. Because it's so beautiful, it's become super popular in zoos and aviaries. And you know what happens then? People start breeding them, and that's led to these unique color mutations like a cinnamon or a yellow version that you'd literally never find in nature. They even create hybrids with other pheasants. So, despite this really complicated story, and even though some of those feral populations are actually shrinking now, the species as a whole is doing just fine. The official word is least concern. So, thankfully, they're not considered to be at risk. And that really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? I mean, when a bird from the mountains of China ends up thriving in a forest in England, what does that even tell us about what wild means anymore? It's a great example of how our world is changing and how nature adapts. Definitely some food for thought. Thanks for diving into this with me.
All right, let's dive in. Today we're looking at a bird that, honestly, it just doesn't look real. It's like something straight out of a myth. We're talking about the golden pheasant, and believe me, its name is only the first chapter of a really incredible story. So its scientific name, Chrysolophus pictus, actually tells you everything you need to know. It's this awesome mix of ancient Greek and Latin, and it basically just means the painted one with the golden crest. How perfect is that? Right, the painted bird. It makes total sense. People also call it the Chinese pheasant, or even the rainbow pheasant. And you can see why, right? It's just a masterpiece, a living, breathing canvas of color. So let's get into it. Okay, so a living work of art. To really get what makes this bird so special, we've got to look at where it all started. So you have to ask yourself, where on earth does a bird like this even come from? Well, our story starts right here, deep in the mountain forests of Western China. Now, out in the wild, this bird is actually a ground dweller. It spends its days scratching around for things like grains, leaves, and bugs. And here's something you might not expect. For a bird that looks this magnificent, it's not a great flyer at all. It actually prefers to run from danger. Its flight is kind of clumsy, just these short bursts. So it sticks to the ground and only heads up into the trees at night to sleep safely. Okay, and now we get to the main event, the dazzling male pheasant. I mean, look at this thing. The colors are so unbelievably vivid, they almost don't seem natural. So this guy is about 100 centimeters long, from beak to tail. But get this, and this is the crazy part. A full 2/3 of that length is just his tail. His spectacular, flowing tail. That's insane. I mean, just look at this palette of colors. You've got the golden crest, that bright red body, a patch of green on its upper back, and even these flashes of blue in the wings. But the real showstopper? It's that orange cape. During a courtship display, he can fan that thing out like a shield of color, and it hides his whole face except for his bright, piercing yellow eye. Talk about dramatic. Okay, so if the male looks like that, this explosion of color, you have to wonder, what does the female look like? And the difference between them? Wow. It's a total masterclass in how evolution works. Because while the male is all about being seen, the female is a genius of camouflage. She's literally built to just disappear. Just look at this contrast. It is absolutely incredible. The male is this bright beacon of color, right? Meanwhile, the female is this beautiful tapestry of muted browns and buffs. You might think it's dull, but it's not. It's a life-saving design. It lets her completely vanish against the forest floor. And that camouflage is absolutely critical. Why? Because she's the one who incubates the eggs, all 8 to 12 of them, and she does it completely on her own. Can you imagine the male trying to do that? His bright colors would be like a giant neon sign for predators. So for about 22 or 23 days, her life and the life of all her chicks completely depends on her ability to stay invisible. So we know it's from China, right? But the story doesn't stop there. This bird has become an unexpected world traveler, and it's all because people just can't get enough of its incredible beauty. So it starts out here in its original home in the mountains of Western China. But from there, it's been introduced all over the world. And it's established feral populations, which just means they're living and breeding on their own in the wild. One of the most famous places for this? The United Kingdom. And this isn't a new thing either. The first wild golden pheasant was seen in England all the way back in 1845. I mean, think about that. And by the 1980s, they had a really solid population going, somewhere around 2,000 birds. But its travels have taken it to some even more surprising places. Get this, the tropical slopes of Maui in Hawaii. A whole population was found there back in 1996. I mean, how wild is that? A bird from the mountains of China just living its life in Hawaii. So yeah, this bird's stunning looks have basically made it a citizen of the world. You can find these self-sustaining populations all over Europe, the Americas, Australia, New Zealand. It's become a familiar sight, thousands and thousands of miles away from home. And all of this travel, this global spread, it brings us to the pheasant's really complicated, ongoing relationship with us, with humans. Because they're pretty tough birds, golden pheasants are now a super common sight in zoos and private aviaries all over the planet. And of course, people are just as captivated by them as ever. And our fascination has led to a whole new chapter for this bird. In the world of aviculture, that's just the practice of keeping and breeding birds, people have started selectively breeding them. And the results are these incredible color mutations, like the yellow, cinnamon, or silver ones. It's like they're adding new twists to nature's original design. You know, the golden pheasant's whole journey, from a remote mountain in China to bird collections all over the world, it really says something about how much we are drawn to natural beauty. And it kind of leaves us with a big question to think about, right? Is nature's art something that's best left alone, admired from afar? Or is our desire to get closer, to even change it a little, the biggest compliment we can pay to its beauty?